In today's video, we will solve a problem about depreciation expense using the double declining balance approach. So the question is, what is the depreciation expense for the upcoming year? And the formula is 2 divided by the useful life multiplied by the book value. The book value is cost minus accumulated depreciation. It is not cost minus residual value because that is depreciable cost. Depreciable cost is used in straight line and unit of production methods, but not in double declining method. Double declining method is cost minus accumulated depreciation. Okay. Which will give us $1,001 as the depreciation expense for that year. Anytime we do a double declining balance question, there's a second step we have to do. First step is to plug in the formulas. Second step is to take the book value, same book value we calculated in step 1, minus the depreciation expense we calculated from step 1 to find the new book value. So the book value from the last step was 4,005. Depreciation expense from the last step was 1,001, which will give us a new book value of approximately 3,003. So in the second step, we calculate the new book value because we want to compare it with the residual value. The residual value is 3,005. $500, which means the residual value is greater than the book value. And we do not want that because we want to make sure the book value is equal or greater than the residual value. The residual value is the amount we want to sell the equipment for at the end of its usage. That means if the book value is below the residual value, it's worth less than what we want to sell it for. And we want to sell it at the price we've set. So we want to make sure that the new, let's put it here, make sure the new book value is greater or equal to the residual value. Because in this case, it is not greater, we have to do a third step. If the new book value was greater than the residual value, then we would confirm that this is our depreciation expense for that year. But because it's less than the residual value, we have to make an adjustment. That means 1,001 cannot be the depreciation expense because it brings our net book value for the next year lower than the residual. So the third step is instead to take the book value and minus it by the salvage or the residual value to get the acceptable depreciation expense. Depreciation expense cannot be 1,001, so we will correct it by inputting our book value. So this is the same book value we calculated in step 1, minus the residual or the salvage value to give 505 as the depreciation expense that we can accept. So then as a result, cross this out, and the new depreciation expense is 505 because 505 will give us the residual value, and not a value beneath residual value.